Hello, Chris Godber. Thought I'd do a vlog today. I had a few different things in mind that I wanted to talk about. Just a few more thoughts on AI, creativity, abstraction and novelty, I think is what I want to talk about. So I'm in my garage at the minute. I'm currently started working in here again. I'm starting to paint in here now instead of my old bedroom. Nicely enough, this is actually where I started painting, so it's quite nicely appropriate to be painting in here again. This is just a bunch of acrylic paint. I've not got much supply at the minute, so quite low on that, but doing what the best with what I've got. And I'll show the painting I'm working on, and then I'm going to talk, I think, more broadly just about some thoughts about novelty, randomness, abstraction, AI and generative art. So I'm working on this. It's an abstract painting, of course. Just been adding this black on there. It's acrylic paint. Like I said, it's an abstract piece, so there's no explicit subject. I'm just just painting directly from my imagination. Abstract painting is always a sort of mid-ground between working from your subconscious as well as mark making exercise, as well as figuring out what you can do with paint. And got some splattering there, some scraping. It's much more physical, and sometimes you can't tell just by looking at a painting, but there's a lot of physicality that went into that. This mark here is like a splattered paint, white paint. I've actually done the drippy, slappy, pollocky thing. Bit of graffiti there, scratching to get the colour under the surface. This is probably almost there. I mean, it's like I don't think I'm going to do much more to it, to be honest. It doesn't really have any explicit. It doesn't represent anything per se. I think I had in mind something like, like a sort of like Mate used to do a sort of surreal landscape of sorts, but it's obviously very open to the interpretation of the viewer's eye, as it were. So you can be pretty much seeing it what you want. The suggestive representational imagery within the abstraction. Brings me on to, I'm going to yabber on a bit about AI and painting and generative imagery. So obviously now we have this whole paradigm in art in general and in image making of AI, which can make certainly representational imagery probably faster and often more accurately than an artist will be able to do, definitely in the same amount of time and frame anyway. I think I wanted to explore more broadly the point of when it comes to abstraction in art, I don't think that really matters. A lot of this might sound a bit like extra, too philosophical maybe, or too vague. But let me elaborate. So I've done this painting, right? It's an abstract painting. If you know about the history of art, you can see where some of the references or the historical aspects I might be working from: abstract expressionism, surrealism, Mate, Pollock, all this, the abstract expressionism, blah blah blah. You understand the references, but the painting, as in the actual image itself, including all the little happy accidents that went into making it, is uniquely mine. There is no way that you could ever reproduce this image. The greatest, most intelligent AI could reproduce this painting, which I'm not even claiming to be a great painting. I think but it could never reproduce it 100% unless it scanned it or something. I guess. Well, I mean, maybe I don't even know if that's possible because there's so many layers underneath. The only way, that a reproduction of this could be 100% accurate to this original painting is if you scanned the entire thing, and then you had depth scanning, and then you had something like you had like a scan of all the layers that went underneath it. Then maybe it would not be the same. Painting is an exercise in novelty. There is never, I mean, if you're a painter, you understand this intuitively. You are never 100% satisfied with a painting, maybe for a few minutes. But you are, the whole process of painting itself is a process of discovery, right? Like, I mean, sometimes obviously if you're doing something that's very representational, you want to match and then add your own stylistic element, you know, style to the painting you're doing, bring yourself to the subject a bit. But you know, like this, which is abstract, the whole idea is to generate novelty. Now, obviously, you can put into Midjourney, you can say, paint me, design me an abstract painting in the style of Roberto Mattei. And it'll do something like this. It won't be a painting, it won't be three-dimensional, but you'll have a 2D image reproduction of something in that style. Potential there for actual discovery, because you're not actually doing anything. Obviously, you're just putting in a text prompt, and then it's crunching. You know, a bunch of art that a lot of very talented artists of the past who are now dead have made already, like Roberto Mattei or Dali or Yov Tanguy or Pollock or Rothko or whatever image you're trying to reproduce, whatever style. I mean, in a sense, art has always been about picking up. I mean, Billy Childish put it very well. He said, art is basically you pick up the obsessions or something that another dead artist is working on, and you rediscover those obsessions and make them your own, right? And I think that, you know, like I've always been interested, even since I started out in this garage, I've been very interested in exploring that like sort of meta space that exists between reality and the mind. It's always been something to be very interested in. But yeah, I mean, basically, what I'm saying is, if AI could create, and it definitely can. I mean, it can create something like this. Abstract art, though, is very subjective. So as to whether it would be better than this, I mean, it's completely down to the eye of the beholder, obviously. Like, some people will like this painting, some people will hate it, some people will think it's to be ambivalent towards it. I'm not really bothered. I just have an obsession with image making. If someone likes it, obviously, I'd rather people like my paintings than not like them. But it's also not why I make them. I make them because I find the process itself interesting, and I am searching for that novelty that something like Midjourney, though fun to use and definitely useful, doesn't offer me as a painter and an artist. It doesn't offer me that novelty factor. There's nothing to respond to in a AI generated image. Like, you know, okay, so I've done this splattering mark here. I had no idea where those splatters were going to land when I splattered them on there. That immediately gave me something to respond to whilst making the image, which in my opinion provides more opportunity for creating something that's novel. Now, obviously the actual process of generating and creating an image is much faster. But, I mean, if you know anything about painting, you know that it isn't about how long it takes to create an image. It's about the how do you just say? It's about like that sort of initial wow factor. Does it, you know, the punch that you get from viewing an image is more important than, you know, this image took 5 hours, it took 2 hours, it took half an hour. It's really sort of irrelevant. I mean, look at one of the most important paintings in 20th century art history, right? Picasso, Le d'Avignon, you know, one of the first Cubist paintings of the Ladies of the Night, but it was sort of like taking on that it was quite a large painting, but it didn't take a particularly long time to paint. I don't think. I think he did it in one or two frenzied late night painting sessions. All his friends hated it when they first saw it. They didn't get it, but you know, in terms of art history, it became one of the most important paintings in the development of Cubism, which in itself was a response to photography and film and everything else. And I think painting will just go, as in like physical painting, you know, what I consider actual painting, to be honest, will similarly just have to respond to the challenge of artificial intelligence, right? In a sense, abstraction in art is almost impossible to replace, because yes, And by definition, there's almost infinite variety, if not an infinite variety of variations of marks and images you can create on a blank surface, right? And yes, obviously AI could speed up the creation of digital abstract art, if you will, but it's not very rewarding as an artist to do that. You know, I mean, there are some interesting possible applications of this. I can see something I'd be interested in even doing myself is creating initial generative art with Midjourney, collaging all those elements together, so then it is a back and forth between the technology and an actual thinking individual, right? Myself, well, most of the time anyway. But then that's an actual back and forth. You could have quite interesting, just as an idea, painting like this, physical media, and then yeah, obviously you could use like collage. You could print off Midjourney abstraction. You could that's one potential avenue. I think abstract artists, if they wanted to, or art painters and artists in general, mixed media artists, if they wanted to explore utilising the technology in some way that's very genuinely new, that would be one way to do it. Anyway, a bunch of thoughts there in how abstract art relates to AI, and just how I don't think they'll ever really replace that, you know. Look at it. I memean, well, I don't think painters will ever be replaced, to be honest, because, let me tell you why. It's never been easy anyway to really get any sort of like reward for painting. People do it because they love painting. People do it because they love the process. They don't do it because they're going to make like $1 million. They're not doing it because, oh, I'm going to sell NFTs and make shitloads of money. And, you know, people do it because they love it. It's a work of passion. Now, you know, and no arts never earn very much. Average earnings for a painter or artist in the UK is like £12,000. So people will keep doing it regardless of if a bunch of nerds are generating faux Jackson Pollock paintings on Midjourney. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it.